Shalom, Akwath, and Akwathium. This is your brother Yahawashi. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Mashiach, Malak, Yahawashi. Peace, salutation to the hopeful elect scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth, learning or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity. Shalom. Today I want to go over Janus, the idol, and how they celebrate him on this New Year's Day. And when that ball drops, when like that's what they do every year in this pagan way, how they celebrate it in January, but it's really in March. And this is the Romans dedicated this month of January to the two-faced god Janus. And that's Janus right there. So let me get out the precept. Pull out I'm gonna go with Leviticus 23:5. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Yahawah's Passover. So in the 14th day of the month at even is the Yahawah's Passover. So as you can see, that you're seeing that the Passover is in the first month in that precept right there. So now I go to Exodus chapter 12 and 1 and 2. It's the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. And Yahawah spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, verse 2, this is the month that shall be unto you, the beginning of the months, and it shall be the first month of the year unto you. Salakia, it shall be the first month of the year to you. So this is telling you that this is going to be the first month of the year. So, and then this lines up with Deuteronomy 16 and 1. Because this is talking about the Abib right there. So I'll go to it. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verse 1. Observe the month of Abib. See, it says Abib right there. That's what that precept lines up with. So observe the month of Abib. Keep the Passover until Yahawah thy God. For in the month of Abib, Yahawah thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. So as you can see, that's the Abib is the first month. That's what it's getting at, and it's in March. So like, just this. That's what this lesson is going to be about. Explaining the holiday, that this is false New Year's Day. This is not the beginning of the new year, as I'm explaining, and you should not acknowledge it as such. Salakia, this is the beginning of a Roman calendar year, like how I was saying, the Gregorian calendar that was introduced by Pope Gregory when I was explaining that. And it goes back to Julian in the calendar as well. It goes back to Julian in the Gregorian calendar as well. Julian set it up too. That was set up during the time of the Romans. I said it in my last video on the blog, so I just wanted to explain this more, get more into it. Yahawah Radazal, this is edifying. I pray it is. So for everyone who has been thinking this is the beginning of the year, it's something you have to know about, that this is one of the lies that our forefathers inherited, meaning our parents and our grandparents have basically raised us in telling us this is the beginning of the year. But as we know, it's not, because the Esau Edom, he speaks lies. So that's why we have to be on our be woke, you feel me? Stay in these precepts and know. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 58, and verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they born, speaking lies. Their portion is like a poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. You know, this is what Edom's known for. Speaking lies straight as they're born out the womb. So we inherited these lies, you know, like they raised us in telling us this is the beginning of the year, but it's not. Many people that know they are Israelites still believe on this, that it's in the beginning of the year, and they celebrate it thinking about it as that. So it's like, man. So getting into like as that, you know, but it's false, and like we're just doing they're doing like the yearly reflections, looking back at the so-called year, you know, like how social media platforms do as well, like Snapchat and stuff, how they always send you those holiday little messages and show you your recaps of the year, and like they're thinking of it like the same way of which they were taught of it being they're one-minded, you know, like that Job 23:13. They're one-minded. That mentality needs to be removed and purged from your mind by the washing of the water by the word. That sanctification process, and it helps you understand this truth, and that's part of the principles to have in this understanding who you really worshiping, you know, going on to perfection in the principles, and staying in the foundation of Yahawashi onto repentance from dead works. Bringing on, you know, so they even have those New Year celebration photos, and that's deception. It blinded many of our people. People will still take this one ear out the other because they're one-minded, like I was saying. You know, and then they want to open up to understand it, but they just still believe this is the new year, and they have New Year resolutions that will do, based on their year in review. They'll have classes on it, looking back on the year, and people telling and texting each other Happy New Year and stuff, like all that deception. That's why they act as if it's a real new year, doing prayers and curses for the next year, which proves they acknowledge it. That's what we do not want to do, and stay away from it. I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 12:2. Salaki, I was getting to it. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. So like by acknowledging of New Year's, you are acknowledging or worshiping a Roman idol, Janus, who is right there in that photo, the two-faced, you know, looking on your past and your future. The past that to the left, and then the future to your right. And saying ye were Gentiles, so this is to the people who believed in Yahawashi and had received the word of truth, and they have done the things required of them to become disciples and believers in Yahawashi and be put into the body. So for this precept, you are no longer become a Gentile, because you have repented and turned away from these ways. Come on. So I'm going to get into that. Daniel chapter 7 and 25. Slaki, bear with me. I'm finding it real quick. The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change the times and laws, and they shall be given into the hand until the time and times, and the dividing of time. Only, only going to read that part, because like it's talking about the times and laws. So like when you go back into some of our other captivities, the first year was always kept the same way. For example, during the Persian captivity, the book of Esther, the month of Nisan in chapter 3, it's actually the first month of the year, and it's actually coexists with the Israelites month of Abib. Abib on the Hebrew blue letter Bible, Salakia, is the name of month Abib or Nisan. So it's equal to each other. And it says, the definition says fresh to mean new, like a new year for Abib. And said for the Abib definition on blue letter Bible, it says month for the second one. For the second definition, saying month of year. Like forming of a greening of crop. Also, what it says of growing green Abib month, and it was in the month of Exodus in the Passover, March and April. So Abib, that's spring. That's when Abib is, in March. So Abib goes into the word corn. So the first green of corn would grow in the spring. That's why it's named particularly the month. That is why it was given that name. And then I go into Exodus chapter 9, verse 31. This is the book of Exodus chapter 9 and verse 31. And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear, and the flax was boiled. So barley was one of the first crops to be ripened in the springtime. So that's why it goes with I'll bring out that Exodus 34 and 26. The book of Exodus chapter 34 and verse 26. The first of the first fruits of the land shall bring unto the house of Yahawah thy God, and thou shalt not see the kid in the mother's milk. So the first fruits is talking about like the first crops to be ripened in the springtime. That's what Khan. So like that's how you know that it equivalates to it. So yeah, continue on. That Salakia. So yeah, but they do these yearly reflections, and it's like so-called year, like how Salakia, like yeah, that's what they do a lot. I know I already went into that. That's why I said Salakia. Yeah. So I'm gonna get into that. How it says like so for a bib, like it's saying like right now, how not Salakia, like it's saying like how they're saying is like because we're in the winter time, so that's how you know this ain't the new year, like it's really in March, and like because there's no green crops or corn, nothing growing right now, and nothing's growing at this time is what I'm trying to say. So we know Esau and his technology, he puts things, Salakia, and vegetables to have them grow year round. That is besides the point. We are talking about when we are back in our land. This is when you would be at the time of when you wouldn't be expecting crops to grow. So you would be eating from the crops that you got from the growth of the spring through the fall when you got the harvest. Then you would expect your growth to come back in the spring. That's the cycle that Yahawah has, because it's the order. The world is out of course because we're under the anti-life nation of a people known as the Edomites, that Esau is the father of, and who have like turned everything upside down. When we go into a particular month, they call January. When we go into this particular month, it's called like January, and it's after Janus. That's what that January is after. That's what it correlates to, Janus. And we are going into that etymology online for that. It says it like January, late 13C, Old French, Genevieve, from Latin, the month of Janus. Like how I was saying, to whom the month was sacred at the beginning of the year, according to the Roman reckonings. It's like a Roman reckoning. You go into Janus. And Janus, ancient Italic deity, the Romans' guardian god of portals, doors, and gates, patron or patron Salakia of beginnings and endings. 1500 from Latin Lanus, literally gate arched passageways, perhaps Pirate. Old Church Slavonic. He is shown having two faces, one in the front and the other in the back. They may represent sunrise and sunset, and reflect his having a role as a solar deity. His temple in Rome was closed only in the times of peace. So yeah, like according to this, like it shows you where that particular mindset and change came from, and it came from people who turned the world out of course. And now when you look at it, the whole world is under that vibration. The news will show you all the celebrations of this pagan holiday going on the eastern side of the world, and in Japan, Philistines, and China, and in London. It will be done on the western side in Babylon. It proves that these are the people that are currently ruling this world. If we can pinpoint that everybody is falling after their particular custom and guides, and acknowledging them by being ignorant, Salakia, and celebrating these New Year's, then you know who is the power seat. Then you know who's in the power seat. Now, it's because Esau has his blessing, the fatness of the earth. So it's plain and simple. So this is why also, if you study like divorces, most divorces are in the first of the month in January. Like 75 to 80% of divorces are filed by women. Yeah, and then they do this because of their like New Year's resolutions, Salaki, on that, for the little weight. And this is the whole mentality a lot of people go through, in the reflection and the changing of their mind, or at least to hope they are of what they want to be better of next year, and of what they are going to leave behind. Like Janus, the front face and the back face, like how I was saying. That's a form of that right there. your past and your future, two faces, Janus. And it causes a lot of confusion and chaos that you see in the lives of our nation. Yeah. Yeah, the Janus definition is why people do New Year's resolutions that gate asserted a passage. That's why. That gate arched passageway. That's why they have these New Year's resolutions and start something new and put the old chapter away. Start the new one. It's just that's why he's two-faced. Like I was saying, the past and the future. They are acknowledging knowingly and unknowingly doing this, and this is particularly worshiping this god, Janus, and this is how they would do in the ancient Rome. It's nothing new under the sun. As a solar duty, because in this particular time, 7 days before, they were celebrating Saturnalia, their pagan 25th day, going into the winter solstice. So this is part of the way they developed their calendar. Was a calendar where ours was based on the month when the new moon would come in. Yeah, so that's how you know, like, Slovakia. Like, that's how you know, that Christmas that they celebrate is pagan, right there, because it connects with their Saturnalia and their winter solstice. You know, like, whereas ours was based on the month, when the new moon would come in, like I was saying, when the month would come in, which has nothing to do with the lunar Sabbath, because that's a Babylonian doctrine, and it's false doctrine. The Sabbath isn't only Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Yeah, the lunar Sabbaths are false. Days still being looked at and upheld by some of our people. We are here to wake up our people with the truth and understanding. Our people have been in captivity, have been lied to, and have been given information that is not lining up. And it's time to cut out these lies, cut them up as well. Most people will wake up and say they don't want to live like that no more, and they won't want to acknowledge. They won't want to acknowledge it no more, the pagan holiday, Slovakia, and hopefully the brothers and sisters watching will want to do the same and share it with some of those who want to hear it. If any have ears, let them hear. You know, if they're not, don't be dismayed at them. Just like in Jeremiah 10:2. Yeah. Again, now Galatians chapter 4 and verse 8. That's all the December 25th gods that they worship on that, since we brought up that 25th day. Those are all of them right there. Tammuz and Nimrod as well was born on that day. And Chris of India, Myrta of Persia, Horus of Egypt, Buddha of India, Bedu, Hercules, son of Zeus, Dionysus, Attis, Parphygia, and Osiris in Egypt. Osir, Slovakia, if I said that wrong. Let me get to this Galatians 4 and 8. Let's go back to that real quick. Book of Galatians, chapter 4 and verse 8. Howbeit, when ye know not God, ye did service unto them which by nature are no gods. So by did no service unto them, this precept means like when we knew not Yahawah, we did service by acknowledging these different idols, whether it was Saturnalia, Tammuz, Mithra, and like the other gods I just named right there that were on that 25th, right there as well, that were born on that pagan holiday, Christmas Day. It's like Nimrod and Tammuz and all the other ones I just named. The list goes on, and that day also like in Thanksgiving, so for New Year's, they're acknowledging these different deities the whole year, throughout the whole year, like Ishtar and Baal, Molech, and the list goes, like I said, the list goes on and on. So it's like they're incorporated to this society, and globally these people are giving service to and acknowledging. That's why the country shuts down on these days, like the government in Babylon, like we get the day off of work to acknowledge these days. And school kids, they get the day off, and they're taught these days by their school. I'm gonna bring out that Proverbs 22 and 6. But first, since I'm in Proverbs, I'll get that Proverbs 3 and 31. And then I'll bring out Proverbs 22 and 6. So bear with me. Pulling it out real quick. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 31. Envy not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. That's why we don't follow the oppressor. Oppressor's Esau, the one oppressing us. And, and that's why we stay righteous, and we don't follow these ways. We choose not his ways. So then I'll get that Proverbs chapter 22 in verse 6. Train up the child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's why we train up our children, tell them that these are pagan holidays, and then they would already know, and they would want to learn from their dad. Because when you're a kid, you look up to your dad. Because I know when I was a kid, I looked up to my dad. Just my dad's not around no more. Yahawashi, stuff happens, but that's how it goes. So now we get back into that Galatians 4 and 9. So Galatians chapter 4, verse 9. But now, after ye have known Yahawah, or rather are known of Yahawah, how he turned again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto desire again to be in bondage. So this is why we warn brothers about talking and telling people it's okay to celebrate and partake in these Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners. Like Eleazar, he didn't eat the plate, so this is why when you go in Israel camps that acknowledge these days and say it's okay to partake in it, just like Paul said in verse 8, or no gods, meaning that they are power. We know that they're not gods, meaning they have no powers, meaning ourselves know they are not gods. They're not gods, and so false idols made by the heathen is what they are. So why would you partake in these holidays regardless? That's what made us a Gentile in the flesh and subject unto those things in the first place. That's why we separate ourselves from these things. And they try to say it's okay to partake in it because they think that just because, like how Paul said in verse 8, that they don't have no power and they're not gods. So they say it's okay to acknowledge it even through, and that's false. That is not how it works. We don't do that. Don't, like Proverbs 3:31. That's why I brought it out. We don't envy thy oppressor, and we don't do the ways. Verse 10, ye observe days and months and times and years. That's Galatians 4:10. It's talking about the ones that were set up by the heathen. These days, months, time, and years. And in this time, it's the same pagan ancient. It's the same ancient Roman pagan customs that have been set up in the days and the months and the times and the years and observe, like the New Year's Eve, and those are the days that they observe. A month, January, that is connected to Janus, like in this photo I have right here showing you. It's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. And they say it's the most wonderful time of the year in this in that pagan Christmas, Like they even have a song about that, like the most wonderful, the song. And like these are all false days that they acknowledge in years, and they say in 2023 now, but according to our calendar, it wouldn't be. We don't know exactly what year it would be, according to our forefathers in the time frame, but we know these Babylon time, years, and days are based off our oppressor Esau and his Gregorian calendar, like I was explaining earlier. And we're not supposed to be serving these holidays as an act of worship, for surely, because if you do it at all, it's an act of worship. That's why we don't partake in it. Verse 11, I am afraid of you, lest I have bestowed upon you labor in vain. Why is that? Because this verse 11, I just read, right? Why is that? Because when brothers teach, we don't want to lead brothers and sisters astray. But, disheartening to teach someone something, and like I'm still going to acknowledge this is one of the things Paul is talking about. This was written when he wrote it to the Galatians, Salakia, who were considered Gentiles because they did not keep the customs of their forefathers. They strayed away how their forefathers stayed away. When they know the truth of the holidays, they still went back and observed those things. That will be the labor done in the vain. Labor done in vain if you haven't left that mindset in time past and haven't walked in the newness of Yahawashi, spirit and truth. That's why it's like nothing new under the sun. They still do this today. They don't want to wake up. They just want to be ignorant. Here's a precept I got. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 14-38. If any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. Yahawah Radazal, they wake up, but if they're going to be ignorant, they're just going to be ignorant. So, I'm going to go to that. Like how he was just saying, we got to do this in spirit and truth. The book of John, chapter 4, verse 24, Yahawah is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. And that's what we have to do, That's why I was explaining like that winter solstice is on the 25th of December, and that's why they call it that Christmas. And Saturnalia is celebrated, a Roman pagan holiday. It's all connected with it. The federal government decides Janus, January 1st, is a holiday, like how I was saying before too, and it was concentrated on to him through a Wikipedia source. If you look up Janus, so I'm gonna get into that revelation. It's the book of Revelations, chapter 13, verse 11. I'll go down to 13. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth earth on them which dwell therein, and worshipped the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth inside of men. And I'm going to go to Daniel 7:23, because it links up with it. Yeah, bear with me. The book of Daniel, chapter 7, and verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall he diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. So we know the fourth beast is Rome. And we know that Rome already fell, but it comes back to life, like known as the Renaissance, which means to rebirth, and eventually has a new power structure that is continued under till the time of Mashiach, till he comes back and takes it down. We have to understand why they are going to exercise and do the same exact things that it was done before. So like that verse 25, it's like things to change. I'm going to read it. Daniel 7, verse 25. I'll go over it again. I know I already read it, Salakia, but I'll read it again. He shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change time and loss. So, this, to change time and loss. And they changed the Sabbath to Sunday. That's what they did, and also the beginning of the year from spring. They changed it to the winter, the time of winter. This resulted in their destruction, because if you go into Exodus 9, how barley was destroyed, you would have known it would have been in around the time of the new year, and that would be arriving. Few chapters down, then it tells you how the month. Yeah, like it tells you later how the month of Isaac is the beginning of the month. That is referring to how it goes to like a bib. That's what it's talking about. Because we're under a lunar moon cycle from month to month, which is not lunar. It's not the lunar Sabbath, like I was saying. That's Babylonian doctrine. The true Hebrews, New Year is in spring. Aviv in modern Hebrew also means spring. You could look it up on Wikipedia, AVIV. It doesn't go by ABIB. That's on the Blue Letter Bible definition that I read earlier. And it's spring, one of the 4 seasons. So spring begins at this month. Important for us to understand this. So we can understand that our true New Year is in March. Because Janus is the God of the beginnings in translations, and he is, like I was saying, he is the two-faced God, since he looks to the future and past. And that's what they do on this day when this New Year happens. And his followers honor Janus by making New Year's resolutions, and that's nothing new under the sun. That's what our people do today, like I was explaining. And the month of January is named after this pagan god. So if you're celebrating this, you're celebrating the Roman god Janus. Khan. So let me get that 1 John. Salakia, bear with me. I'm bringing it out real quick. Oh yeah, I got it. Yahawah right as I found it. All right, time. This is First John chapter 5. Salakia, this This is First John chapter 5 and 21. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. And like, I'm gonna link that up with 1 Corinthians 10 and 14. Because we want to stay away from these idols and doing this because we're seeking the kingdom. We're going on to perfection, like the principles. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and 14. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. So John and Paul were telling us this, right? To stay away from idolatry. And it's in Deuteronomy chapter 7 as well. I brought that out on the block, so we know about this. And we just gotta stay persistent on it and keep enduring, keep our heads up, endure to the end, that we shall be saved. We're gonna be hated on and persecuted for the gospel. People are gonna hate us. Y'all right as all, we get persecuted, like that red sticker, you know? That on your curb too. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all right as all. Slacky, I'm gonna get to that. Two more precepts, and then we'll call it a night. Cause they're about to start those fireworks off, and I don't want y'all finna hear it if I keep going all night. You know what I mean, Salakia. I'm just type it in. Sometimes they be playing with me. It's the book of Colossians chapter 2 and 16 and 17. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a holy day or in a new moon or of the Sabbath days. Verse 17, which are shadow of things to come, but the body is of Hamashiach. Because this is, no one should judge you over celebrating the holy days, because those are the holy days of Hamashiach. And the shadow of things to come, we're waiting on Hamashiach Yahawashi, us in the body of Hamashiach. So I'm going to bring out that Matthew 26 and 6 to 13 and call it a wrap. This is Matthew chapter 26 in verse 6. Now when Yahawashi was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, they came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and he poured it on his head, and he sat at meat. Verse 8, but when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? Verse 9, for this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. Verse 10, and when Yahawashi understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she had wrought a good work upon me. Verse 11, for ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. Verse 12, for in that she had poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verse 13, verily I say unto you, wherever so this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also that this woman had done be told for a memorial of her. And with that, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Mashiach, Malak, Yahawashi. Peace, salutation to the hopeful elect scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth, learning or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity, waiting on the deliverance and salvation, which is salvation from Hamashiach Yahawashi. Shalom.